Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about something every woman wants to understand and every man struggles to explain, and that is how to get a man to finally open up and tell you how he really feels. Now listen to me carefully, because this isn't about tricks, manipulation, or games. This is about understanding the nature of a man and creating the kind of space where he wants to speak from his heart. You see, a man doesn't express emotions the same way a woman does. Women talk to connect, men connect before they talk. That means if you want him to open up, you don't start by demanding words, you start by creating an environment where his feelings feel safe. Men express feelings through actions before words, and understanding this truth changes the entire way you interpret his behavior. Many women grow up believing that love is proven through verbal reassurance, emotional conversations, and clear confessions, because that is often how women naturally communicate affection. Men, however, are wired differently. For many men, feelings are not something they immediately talk about. They are something they demonstrate. Before he ever says, "I care about you," he is already showing it in 100 quiet ways. The problem is not that he lacks emotion. The problem is that most people have been taught to listen only to words and overlook behavior. If you learn to read his actions, you will hear his heart speaking long before his mouth ever does. When a man likes you, his instinct is not always to confess it. His instinct is to show up. He makes time for you even when he is busy. He checks if you got home safe. He fixes problems for you without being asked. He pays attention to details you mention once in passing. These actions may seem small, but for a man they are emotional investments. Men often express care through responsibility. If he feels something for you, he naturally starts taking responsibility for your comfort, your safety, your happiness. That is his emotional language. He may not say, "I miss you," but he'll call just to hear your voice. He may not say, "You matter to me," but he'll rearrange his schedule to see you. Those behaviors are not casual. They are confessions in motion. Another reason men express feelings through actions first is because action feels safer than vulnerability. Words make emotions real, and making emotions real can feel risky to someone who fears rejection or misunderstanding. Doing something kind or thoughtful feels less exposing than saying something deeply emotional. So instead of speaking his feelings outright, he proves them. He would rather demonstrate loyalty than announce devotion. He would rather be present than poetic. This doesn't mean he doesn't feel deeply. In fact, it often means the opposite. Many men feel so strongly that they become cautious because strong feelings raise the stakes. Actions allow him to show sincerity while protecting his pride until he's sure his feelings are safe with you. There is also a natural pride in many men that pushes them toward action instead of speech. A man often wants to be seen as dependable, capable, and strong. He wants the woman he cares about to feel secure around him. So he tries to earn that feeling through what he does rather than what he says. Words can be doubted, but consistent behavior builds proof. When he consistently shows up, keeps his promises, and stands by you, he is communicating something powerful, that you are important enough for effort. Effort is one of the clearest emotional signals a man can send. People rarely invest energy into what they do not value. Consistency is especially important. Anyone can say sweet words in a moment of charm or attraction, but consistent actions require intention. If he repeatedly makes time for you, supports you, and includes you in his life, those repeated choices are emotional statements. Consistency is his way of saying, "I choose you," again and again, without necessarily verbalizing it. A man who is serious will show patterns, not just moments. He will not only appear when it is convenient, he will appear when it matters. That reliability is his emotional language becoming visible. Understanding this difference can prevent misunderstandings that ruin potential relationships. Sometimes a woman thinks, he hasn't said how he feels, so maybe he doesn't feel anything. Meanwhile, he thinks, I've been showing her every day how much she means to me. Both people may care deeply, yet misinterpret each other because they are looking for different signals. When you start paying attention to his actions, you begin to see the truth of his feelings more clearly. His effort, his attention, his protection, his loyalty, his presence. Those are his love letters written without ink. It is also important to realize that when a man's actions and words don't match, his actions are usually the truth. Words can be spoken easily, especially if someone wants to impress you. Actions require intention, sacrifice, and time. That is why actions carry more weight. A man who says he cares but never shows up is revealing his real feelings through absence. A man who rarely talks about emotions but consistently treats you with care is revealing his feelings through presence. Learning to trust what he does more than what he says gives you a clearer understanding of his heart. Patience plays a role here as well. Many men eventually do express their feelings verbally, but they often do so only after their actions have already laid the foundation. Once he feels confident that his efforts are seen and appreciated, he becomes more comfortable putting his emotions into words. Appreciation encourages openness. When he realizes that you notice what he does and value it, he feels understood. Feeling understood makes him feel safe, and feeling safe makes him more expressive. So when you're trying to understand how a man feels, watch him. Watch how he treats you, how he prioritizes you, how he shows up when it matters. His actions are not random. They are messages. They are his way of speaking before he speaks. And if you learn to read those messages, you will discover that many men have been telling the truth about their feelings all along, just not in the language most people expect. Respect is the gateway to a man's emotional honesty, and without it, most men will never fully open their hearts no matter how much they care. Many people misunderstand respect and think it simply means being polite or agreeable, but for a man, respect runs much deeper than manners. Respect is how he measures his value in your life. It is how he determines whether he is safe enough to be vulnerable with you. A man can handle disagreement, challenges, and even conflict, but what shuts him down emotionally is feeling belittled, dismissed, or unappreciated. When respect is missing, his instinct is not to explain himself, but to protect himself by staying silent. Men are raised, consciously or unconsciously, to associate respect with dignity. From a young age, many men learn that their worth is connected to what they can provide, protect, or solve. Because of this, when a woman respects a man, he feels seen for who he is and what he brings to the table. That feeling is powerful. It creates confidence. And confidence is what allows him to speak honestly about his emotions. Without respect, emotional honesty feels dangerous because it feels like exposing weakness to someone who might not value it. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that love alone is enough to get a man to open up. Love matters, but respect is what unlocks expression. A man may love deeply and still stay quiet if he feels constantly criticized or compared. When a man feels that nothing he does is ever good enough, he starts to retreat internally. He stops sharing not because he doesn't feel, but because he feels that whatever he says will be misunderstood or used against him. Respect reassures him that his voice matters, that his feelings will not be mocked or minimized. Respect is communicated in subtle, everyday ways. It shows in how you speak to him during disagreements. It shows in whether you listen to understand or listen to respond. It shows in whether you acknowledge his efforts, even when they are imperfect. When a man feels that his effort is recognized, he becomes more emotionally generous. He starts to believe that opening up will be met with appreciation rather than judgment. That belief changes everything. Another important aspect of respect is allowing a man to move at his own emotional pace. Many women want clarity quickly, which is understandable, but rushing a man emotionally can feel disrespectful to his process. Emotional processing for many men takes time. They need to understand their feelings internally before they can articulate them. When you respect that timing instead of pushing, he feels trusted. And trust invites honesty. Respect says, I see you, I accept your pace, and I value your truth when you're ready to share it. Tone also plays a huge role. A man may be willing to talk, but if he senses accusation or impatience in your voice, he will shut down. Respectful communication keeps the door open. It lets him know that even difficult conversations can happen without attacks. When a man knows he won't be shamed for expressing confusion, fear, or uncertainty, he becomes more willing to express those feelings. Emotional honesty grows where emotional safety exists, and respect is the foundation of that safety. It's also important to understand that respect doesn't mean silence or self-sacrifice. Respect does not mean tolerating behavior that hurts you. It means expressing your needs without humiliation, without insults, and without trying to control him through emotional pressure. When boundaries are communicated calmly and clearly, a man often responds with more openness, not less. He may not always agree, but he will respect the way you handle yourself. And when he respects you, he is more likely to mirror that respect with honesty. Men are extremely sensitive to how they are spoken about, especially in front of others. Public criticism can damage a man's willingness to be emotionally open more than almost anything else. When a man feels embarrassed or disrespected publicly, he often closes off privately. On the other hand, when he feels supported and honored, especially in front of others, his emotional connection deepens. He feels proud to be associated with you, and pride strengthens emotional bonds. Respect also means believing him when he shows you who he is through actions. Constantly questioning his intentions, doubting his sincerity, or testing his feelings can communicate distrust. Even if your fears come from past hurt, repeated doubt can feel like a lack of respect for his efforts. When a man feels trusted, he feels encouraged to be more transparent. Trust tells him that his actions are seen and valued. Over time, consistent respect builds emotional security. A man who feels respected begins to lower his guard. He becomes more expressive, more communicative, and more willing to share what's happening inside him. His words begin to catch up to his actions because he no longer feels the need to protect himself emotionally. He knows his feelings won't be weaponized or dismissed. He knows they will be received with understanding. That is why respect is not optional when it comes to emotional honesty. It is the bridge between what a man feels and what he is willing to say. When respect is present, honesty follows naturally. When respect is missing, silence takes its place. Patience creates emotional safety for him, and emotional safety is the condition most men require before they reveal what they truly feel. In a world that often teaches men to suppress vulnerability, patience becomes more than a virtue, it becomes an invitation. Many men are not used to expressing their emotions openly, not because they lack depth, but because they have been conditioned to manage feelings privately. From an early age, boys are often told to be strong, to handle problems on their own, and to avoid appearing weak. Over time, that conditioning forms a habit of emotional restraint. So when a man begins to care about someone deeply, he does not automatically switch into expressive mode. He first observes, evaluates, and tests whether it is safe to reveal what is inside him. Patience is what allows that process to unfold naturally. When someone tries to rush a man emotionally, he may feel like he is being pulled into territory he hasn't mentally prepared for. Emotional expression requires clarity, and clarity takes time. A man often wants to understand his own feelings before he speaks them out loud. If he speaks too soon and later realizes he misjudged his emotions, he may feel foolish or exposed. That fear can make him cautious. Patience reassures him that he has the space to sort through his thoughts without pressure. Instead of feeling interrogated, he feels accepted. That acceptance lowers his defenses and makes him more willing to open up when he is ready. Patience also signals confidence. When you are patient with someone, you show that you are secure enough not to force outcomes. That kind of calm energy is incredibly comforting. It tells him that you are not trying to control his emotions, but are willing to understand them. Control creates resistance, but understanding creates openness. A man who senses patience in your attitude begins to relax emotionally because he no longer feels like he is being timed or tested. He realizes he can reveal himself gradually without the fear of disappointing you, if he is not instantly expressive. Another reason patience fosters emotional safety is that it removes fear of judgment. Many men hesitate to speak about their feelings because they worry about saying the wrong thing or being misunderstood. They may struggle to put emotions into words, especially if they have not had much practice doing so. If they sense impatience, they may interpret it as criticism, even if none was intended. They might think they are failing some unspoken expectation. But when patience is present, the message changes. Instead of feeling evaluated, he feels supported. He understands that he is allowed to take his time, choose his words carefully, and speak when he feels ready rather than when he feels pressured. Patience also allows trust to grow at a natural pace. Trust is not something that appears instantly. It develops through repeated experiences of safety and understanding. Each time he shares something small and sees that it is received kindly, his confidence increases. Each time he is met with calm instead of urgency, he learns that opening up is not dangerous. Gradually, those small moments accumulate and form a foundation strong enough to support deeper emotional honesty. Without patience, that foundation never fully forms because he never gets the chance to build it step by step. It is important to understand that patience does not mean passivity. It does not mean ignoring your own needs or pretending you don't care about clarity. It means allowing emotional truth to arrive in its own time instead of forcing it prematurely. When you practice patience, you are not delaying progress, you are strengthening it. You are giving him the opportunity to come forward willingly rather than retreating defensively. That difference determines whether his eventual honesty will be shallow or sincere. Men often communicate comfort before they communicate emotion. They might start by sharing thoughts, opinions, or daily experiences rather than deep feelings. These smaller conversations are not meaningless. They are steps. They are his way of building familiarity and testing connection. If those moments are met with attentiveness and calm interest, he begins to feel understood. Feeling understood is one of the strongest motivators for emotional openness. It reassures him that when he finally does share something deeper, it will be received with the same care. Impatience, on the other hand, can unintentionally send the message that his natural pace is not acceptable. Even subtle signs of frustration can make him feel like he is disappointing you. When a man feels like he is failing emotionally, he may withdraw instead of trying harder. Withdrawal is often mistaken for indifference, but in many cases it is actually self-protection. Patience prevents that cycle. It keeps the environment calm and welcoming rather than tense and demanding. Over time, patience transforms the emotional atmosphere between two people. It replaces urgency with trust, pressure with comfort, and uncertainty with reassurance. A man who experiences that kind of steady acceptance begins to feel safe enough to lower his guard. When his guard lowers, his honesty rises. He starts to speak more freely, share more sincerely, and express more openly. What once required courage begins to feel natural because he knows he is in a space where his feelings will be handled with care rather than rushed or judged. A man speaks when he feels valued, not pressured. And understanding this principle can completely change how communication unfolds in a relationship. Many people assume that if you want honesty from someone, the best way to get it is by asking direct questions, insisting on clarity, or demanding answers. But emotional truth does not respond well to pressure, especially for men who often associate emotional expression with risk. Pressure feels like a spotlight, and a spotlight can make anyone freeze. Value, on the other hand, feels like warmth, and warmth encourages openness. When a man feels valued, he doesn't feel like he has to talk, he wants to talk. That difference is what determines whether his words are forced or sincere. Feeling valued is deeply tied to how a man perceives his role in your life. When he senses that his presence matters, that his efforts are noticed, and that who he is appreciated rather than constantly evaluated, he relaxes emotionally. That relaxation is crucial because tension is one of the biggest barriers to honesty. A tense mind focuses on defense, while a relaxed mind feels free to express. If he believes he is constantly being measured against expectations he may not yet be ready to meet, he may hold back his feelings to avoid disappointing you. But when he feels accepted as he is, he becomes more willing to reveal what is happening inside him. Value is often communicated through small reactions rather than grand gestures. The way you respond when he shares something minor tells him whether it is safe to share something major. If he mentions a thought, an idea, or a feeling and you listen attentively, respond thoughtfully, and show genuine interest, he registers that moment as emotional approval. That approval builds confidence. Confidence, in turn, builds expression. He begins to trust that his voice has a place in your world. But if his words are brushed aside, corrected immediately, or met with impatience, he may interpret that as a sign that his thoughts are not truly welcome. Over time, he may stop volunteering his feelings altogether, not because he has none, but because he believes they are not wanted. Pressure often disguises itself as urgency. Questions like, "Why haven't you told me how you feel yet?" or "What are we?" can come from a place of genuine desire for clarity, but to him they may sound like deadlines. Deadlines create stress, and stress rarely inspires vulnerability. When someone feels cornered emotionally, their instinct is to escape the corner, not to confess their heart. Pressure can make a man feel like he is being pushed to perform emotionally before he is ready, and emotional performance is very different from emotional honesty. Performance gives you words quickly. Honesty gives you truth slowly. If you want truth, you have to allow time for it to form. Another important part of feeling valued is recognition. Men often express care through actions, and when those actions are acknowledged, they feel seen. Recognition tells him that what he does has meaning. When his efforts are noticed, he feels effective, and feeling effective strengthens his desire to invest emotionally. Appreciation is powerful because it confirms that he is contributing something positive to your life. That confirmation builds emotional security. A secure man is far more likely to speak openly than a man who feels uncertain about his place. It is also worth understanding that value is closely linked to respect. When a man feels respected, he feels worthy. When he feels worthy, he feels safe enough to reveal vulnerability. Vulnerability requires courage, and courage grows where there is affirmation rather than criticism. This does not mean you must agree with everything he says or never challenge him. It means that even in disagreement, you treat his perspective as valid and his feelings as real. When he sees that you can differ without dismissing him, he learns that honesty will not cost him his dignity. That lesson makes him far more willing to share his inner world. Silence from a man is often misinterpreted as emotional distance, when in reality it can simply mean he is still processing. Many men prefer to understand their emotions internally before expressing them externally. If he senses that he is allowed that space without losing your approval, he will take it and eventually return with clarity. But if he senses that silence is causing tension or disappointment, he may speak prematurely just to relieve pressure. Words spoken under pressure may satisfy the moment but lack depth. Words spoken when he feels valued carry sincerity because they come from readiness, not obligation. Value also reassures him that his honesty will be received with care. If he fears that his feelings will be criticized, mocked, or turned into an argument, he may decide that staying quiet is safer. But when he believes that his truth will be met with understanding, he becomes more willing to reveal it. Emotional openness is always a risk, and people only take risks when they believe the outcome will not harm them. Feeling valued lowers that perceived risk. It tells him that his feelings are not weapons that will be used against him, but gifts that will be handled gently. Over time, when a man consistently feels valued, something shifts inside him. He stops guarding his emotions so tightly. He begins to trust not only you, but also his own ability to express himself. What once felt difficult starts to feel natural. He speaks more freely, not because he is asked to, but because he wants you to know him fully. His words become more thoughtful, more sincere, and more revealing. Instead of being pulled out of him, his feelings begin to flow toward you on their own. Consistency builds his trust and confidence, and trust and confidence are the two emotional pillars that determine whether a man will open his heart or keep it guarded. Many people underestimate how deeply men value consistency, but for a man, consistency is proof. Words can be spoken in a moment, promises can be made in excitement, and feelings can be claimed in attraction. But consistency is what shows him what is real. It is the repeated pattern of behavior over time that convinces him that something is safe, stable, and worth investing his emotions in. Without consistency, he may enjoy your presence, but he will hesitate to attach his vulnerability to you. A man watches patterns more than moments. A single kind gesture will make him smile, but steady kindness will make him trust. One compliment might impress him, but consistent appreciation will make him feel valued. One good conversation may interest him, but repeated understanding will make him feel emotionally secure. Consistency tells him that what he experiences with you is not temporary or unpredictable. Predictability, in an emotional sense, is comforting to many men because it removes the fear of sudden rejection or unexpected conflict. When he knows what to expect from your reactions, your tone, and your treatment of him, he relaxes. That relaxation is the beginning of emotional openness. Trust is not built through intensity. It is built through reliability. Intense emotions can appear quickly, but reliability is proven slowly. Many men are cautious about where they place their emotional trust because once they give it sincerely. They do not want to invest deeply in someone who may change suddenly or disappear when things become challenging. Consistency reassures him that your interest is not based on mood, convenience, or impulse. It shows him that your care is steady, and steadiness is what makes him feel safe enough to share what he usually keeps private. Confidence also grows from consistency. When a man experiences stable treatment from you, he becomes more confident in how he stands with you. Uncertainty creates hesitation, but stability creates assurance. If he is constantly guessing how you feel about him, he may hold back his own feelings to avoid misreading the situation. But when your behavior clearly and consistently shows warmth, respect, and interest, he no longer has to guess. That clarity gives him the confidence to match your emotional energy. Confidence is important because expressing feelings requires courage, and courage is easier when someone feels secure rather than doubtful. Consistency does not mean perfection. It does not require you to always say the right thing or never have a bad day. What matters is emotional steadiness, not flawlessness. A man does not expect you to be perfect, but he does pay attention to whether your attitude toward him changes without reason. If one day you are warm and attentive and the next day distant and cold with no explanation, he may feel confused. Confusion weakens trust because it introduces uncertainty. But when your behavior is generally steady, even with normal ups and downs, he sees that your connection with him is genuine rather than conditional. Another powerful aspect of consistency is that it proves intention. Anyone can act affectionate for a short time, especially at the beginning of a connection when excitement is high. But only someone who truly cares will remain consistent after the novelty fades. When he sees that your effort continues, that your kindness does not disappear, and that your interest does not fluctuate dramatically, he understands that you are not pretending. That realization makes him more willing to reveal his authentic self. Authenticity invites authenticity. When he senses that you are real with him, he feels encouraged to be real with you. Men often test emotional stability quietly. They may not announce it, but they observe how you respond in different situations. They notice how you react when plans change, when misunderstandings happen, or when stress appears. These moments matter because they show him whether your behavior is dependable or situational. If he sees that you remain respectful and calm, even when circumstances are imperfect, he registers that as emotional strength. Emotional strength is deeply attractive to many men because it signals that the relationship can handle challenges. When he believes the connection can withstand difficulty, he becomes less afraid of investing his feelings. Consistency also communicates sincerity more loudly than declarations ever could. Someone can say they care 100 times, but if their actions are inconsistent, those words lose meaning. On the other hand, someone who rarely speaks dramatically but consistently shows up, listens, and supports will be perceived as deeply sincere. Sincerity is what allows a man to lower his guard. Guarded men are not emotionless, they are careful. They protect their feelings until they believe those feelings will be respected. Consistency is what convinces him that his emotions will not be mishandled. Over time, steady behavior creates a sense of emotional home. He begins to associate you with comfort, reliability, and peace of mind. When he feels that kind of emotional stability, he no longer feels the need to hide what he feels. Instead, he begins to share more of his thoughts, more of his worries, and more of his hopes. His openness grows naturally because he is responding to the environment you have created. The more consistent that environment is, the more his trust deepens, and the deeper his trust becomes, the more confidently he expresses what is in his heart. And when that trust reaches its peak, he will not hesitate to speak honestly because he knows his truth is welcomed, his feelings are safe, and his heart is finally understood by you always. When he's ready, he will reveal everything sincerely, and understanding the meaning behind readiness is one of the most important things anyone can learn about a man's emotional world. Readiness is not something that can be forced, predicted, or rushed. It is a personal moment of alignment between his feelings, his confidence, and his sense of safety. Many people assume that if someone truly cares, They should be able to express it immediately, but emotions rarely work on command. For many men, sincerity arrives only when their internal certainty becomes stronger than their fear of vulnerability. Until that moment happens, silence does not necessarily mean absence of feeling. It often means preparation. A man's readiness is shaped by trust. Trust is like a lock, and sincerity is what lies behind it. He may want to open up, but if he is unsure whether his honesty will be handled with care, he will keep that lock closed. This is not because he is hiding something deceptive. It is because he values what he feels. People protect what matters to them. If his emotions are deep, he may guard them even more carefully, waiting until he is sure they will not be dismissed, misunderstood, or used against him. When that certainty finally arrives, the guard drops, and what he shares is genuine because it comes from a place of security rather than pressure. Time plays a powerful role in this process. Feelings can develop quickly, but understanding those feelings often takes longer. A man may sense that he cares, but he might not yet know how deeply or what it means for his future. He may ask himself questions privately before he ever speaks them aloud. He may consider whether he can truly commit, whether he can meet expectations, and whether he is ready for the responsibility that comes with emotional honesty. These reflections happen internally, and they are essential. They allow him to speak with clarity instead of confusion. When he finally expresses his feelings, he wants his words to be accurate, not impulsive. That desire for accuracy is one reason many men wait until they feel completely ready. Readiness is also connected to emotional courage. Revealing feelings requires bravery because it opens the door to acceptance or rejection. No matter how confident a man may appear, exposing his heart is a risk. Courage grows when fear decreases, and fear decreases when he feels safe. Safety is created through understanding, patience, and consistent care. When he experiences those qualities repeatedly, his hesitation begins to fade. He starts to believe that even if he expresses something deeply personal, he will still be respected. That belief is what gives him the courage to speak sincerely instead of cautiously. Another factor that influences readiness is self-assurance. A man is more likely to express his feelings when he feels secure within himself. If he is uncertain about his own direction in life, his ability to provide stability, or his emotional capacity, he may delay opening up until he feels more grounded. This is not avoidance, it is preparation. Many men want to feel capable before they declare their feelings because they associate emotional commitment with responsibility. They want to be sure they can stand behind what they say. When he reaches a point where he feels stable in himself, expressing his emotions feels less like a risk and more like a natural step. It is important to recognize that sincerity cannot be performed. Someone can be pushed into saying emotional words, but forced words rarely carry depth. Genuine confession happens voluntarily. When a man is ready, his honesty does not sound rehearsed or pressured. It sounds calm, clear, and certain. There is a noticeable difference between words spoken to satisfy a demand and words spoken from true intention. The first fades quickly because it lacks foundation. The second stays strong because it comes from conviction. Readiness is what turns emotion into conviction. Many people overlook the quiet signs that show a man is approaching readiness. Before he speaks openly, he often begins revealing himself in smaller ways. He might share personal stories, talk about his past, or express thoughts he normally keeps private. These moments are like doors opening gradually. Each time he shares something meaningful and sees that it is received kindly, he becomes more comfortable sharing the next thing. Gradual openness is a natural path toward full honesty. When he reaches the point where he feels completely safe, the final door opens and he expresses what he truly feels without holding back. Pressure can interrupt this process. When someone tries to force readiness, it can create resistance. Instead of moving forward, he may pause or withdraw because he feels pushed beyond his emotional pace. Readiness must be self-chosen. It cannot be demanded from the outside. The more freedom he feels to arrive at his feelings on his own, the more genuine his eventual expression will be. Freedom encourages authenticity, and authenticity is the heart of sincerity. There is also a deep sense of pride that many men attach to their words. When a man speaks about his feelings, he wants those words to mean something. He wants to be able to stand by them. This is why he may wait until he feels absolutely certain before he speaks. He is not just sharing emotion, he is making a statement of truth. That statement carries weight for him. When he finally says how he feels, he wants it to reflect his real intentions, not a temporary mood. His readiness ensures that his words align with his actions because he has already decided that what he feels is real. When that moment arrives, sincerity flows naturally. He does not struggle to explain himself because he has already done the inner work. He speaks openly, honestly, and with confidence. His tone becomes steady, his words become clear, and his message becomes unmistakable. What once seemed hidden suddenly becomes visible, not because it appeared overnight, but because he finally reached the point where he felt safe enough, confident enough, and certain enough to reveal it. And when a man reaches that state, his honesty is not partial or hesitant. It is complete, heartfelt, and real because it comes from a place where his emotions, his trust, and his readiness all meet at the same time.